I think I'm just gonna work at McDonald's right now. I need to make some extra cash and have some.
Through the volcano! No!
Cap, clear cap, don't interfere on you. Nope.
That city has officially become a city. It's in the air.
Here we go, put the pizza in.
Mad City is a game that needs no introduction for most people. Either you played it during Chapter 1 or you heard about the game in Chapter 2. I'm sure you've seen and likely already watched videos with similar topics to this one, yeah? Game was made to compete with Jailbreak, game made Chapter 2, game died, stuff like that. Originally, I was going to make this very in-depth and explain each individual aspect of why. Truth be told, I'm still going to do that, but you can say that I made a Chapter 2 of my initial video script. Let's do this. One last time. Maybe. First and foremost, the most common reason that I've seen as to why Mad City fell is nostalgia and simplicity. Honestly speaking, I do understand it. Everyone has something that they cherish deeply, something that has a special place in their hearts despite everything. Mad City Chapter 1 was something simple, and it's actually still something that many people still come back to and enjoy a lot. Speaking of which, people unsurprisingly don't like it when you force change upon them, since now they have to get used to it again. Mad City Chapter 2 completely changed everything that players had gotten used to back in Chapter 1. If or when an old Mad City player is to, hop back into Chapter 2 after many years of not playing the game, they would likely be confused. They would go, oh my god, this game is unrecognizable. Unrecognizable. Mad City changed the game way too much to the point where a good majority of things are just unrecognizable. Every possible piece has changed. Models, locations, mechanics, you name it. Things do have to change every now and then, but this rapid of change, this quick, this fast, there were just some players that honestly likely left the game due to that reason. And for a newer player to the game, they would probably find the game too complex to understand and will just leave. Also, probably the fact that they will get obliterated due to every other player having better weapons and vehicles compared to them. What? You can slide and dash now? What does this wallet bar mean? Why does entering my vehicle make another bar show up above my health? Now, the thing is, they added the old Chapter 1 buildings and mechanics though, right? Take the high stacking feature and both the jewelry store and prison, for example. These are things that were technically removed but got re-added, although there's still an issue at hand. Why did people leave despite this? All things are nostalgic, right? These re-editions and whatnot are clearly old. Why are people leaving? Why are people not staying? Well, there are still a few factors to consider. Let's talk attention span. What is there to do after you do everything that you can do and want to do inside of a game? What else is there to accomplish? What is left to obtain? There was nothing. There was nothing you could really do after you got maximum level or the vehicle you wanted, or say every vehicle in the game. Well, in the end, you're suffering from success. From accomplishing what you had set out to do in the game, you have nothing else to do. But perhaps even you're in the process of doing that, you're likely getting bored, honestly. Playing the same game for multiple hours, just grinding and whatnot. Everyone has different attention spans, and some people can get bored pretty easily. and from being bored, they could just go ahead and play a completely different game. The lack of anything to do, such as game modes, which were originally a Chapter 1 feature but got removed before even Chapter 2 even, released, just made the game pretty stale and boring. Although, this problem can be eased with in-game events, of course! Now yes, events were present in the game, although most of these events weren't really well received by the community, and for context purposes, I will provide a quick rundown of every event that Chapter 2 had, while trying my best not to state their obvious flaws and issues. Honestly speaking, I can't really guarantee that, so yeah. Piggy Event, Part 1. The Piggy Event, which would later be split into two separate events, is the first event to be added into Chapter 2. The event involved the community to reach a grand total of 50 billion cash, and to do that you just need to rob, heist, and arrest players. The final award for the actual event was the Hovercraft, which is an aerial vehicle in the game. The 2022 Christmas event. The 2022 Christmas event was the first great event of Chapter 2, which featured 3 rarities of presents that fell from the sky, these being the elf, Santa, and gingerbread crates respectively. The gingerbread crates were honestly the only ones that people cared for because it had the chance to give you the Comet, which is an aerial vehicle that you can shoot out of. I mean, it also had the chance to give you the Thunderbolt, but it was just a cool name for what was honestly a really generic car. This event did, however, add a pity system, where if you had gotten 100 crates, I think it was, you would be guaranteed a legendary St. Patrick's Day 2023. The St. Patrick's Day 2023 event. It was less an event, honestly. This quote-unquote event contained limited time vehicle customization items that can only be bought with cash. Nothing else to elaborate on to the next one. 2023 Easter event. The 2023 Easter event was honestly just a copy and paste of the 2022 Christmas event, but with eggs instead of presents. Wow. Speaking of eggs, the eggs that did drop from the sky were the red, green, and blue eggs, and the blue ones were sort of cared for. There was only one vehicle reward this time. It was the Shell Rider, which is a land vehicle. The event still had the pity system, thankfully. May 4th, 2023 live event. The May 4th, 2023 live event, also known as the Space Command event, is Chapter 2's only live event, if you aren't counting Chapter 2's live event when it first released, of course. So, pretty much a giant egg fell from the sky, giant egg had a timer, giant egg messed up the map, and made it even smaller. That's it. The map became smaller because of this event. Operation Bacon. Piggy Event Part 2. Piggy Event Part 2, also known as Operation Bacon, was Chapter 2's first and only boss fight event. This event was pretty hyped, mostly due to the developers updating the game almost every day, adding new hints on what could possibly happen and what Crispy Bacon was even doing. When the event did drop, it wasn't like anyone had expected. Killing the boss, Crispy Bacon, did award players with a vehicle, but they also rewarded them with coins and XP. What were the coins for, you may ask? Well, the vehicle rewards that were actually kinda good were in the event shop. And my god, they weren't cheap at all. The P1G1 and the Raider Z were pretty worth it though. These were both aerial vehicles, but the need to grind the boss, the time to kill the boss, just over and over and over and over again, was boring and super repetitive. Now the process could be reduced if you get lucky and Crispy Bacon became gold, which gives double the amount of coins than the original, which is 200 actually. It gives you 200. I mean, if you were really rich, you could, I don't know, just buy the carrots 24/7. and buy the double Piggy tokens thing so you can get the rewards way faster. Now, the event was painfully boring, but it's not like more awards would be added, which featured 2 new vehicles that were 2 to 3 times more expensive than the P1G1 and the Raider Z. Say hello to the X10 and the Blackout, in which I unfortunately owned both of them. The good thing that happened here is that the developers did extend the event and they made it, what's this again? Double coin weekends, if I remember correctly. Fantastic. Let's move on. Oh god. The 2023 Halloween event. The 2023 Halloween event was yet another great event, but this one was different and was honestly the tipping point, if you will. The event had chests that fell from the sky, and instead of instantly grabbing the chest, NPCs would spawn around the chest and you would need to kill every single one of the NPCs under a short time limit. When successful, you will be randomly given a okay, never mind, they're called crates in the GUI menu. Okay, so pretty much, there were 4 rarities of these chest crates. Basic, Epic, Legendary, and Mega crates, and Mega was hella cared and sought after. Oh wait, no. I meant everyone was literally praying that they got Mega crates because the chances of getting the 4 of the event items were way higher in the Mega crate instead of something like the Legendary crate. Wait, did I say 4? I meant 5 because the treasure boat exists and it was only available via the Mega crate. For extra context, the other 4 vehicles were obtainable in both the Legendary and Mega crates, while only the treasure boat was only obtainable in the Mega crate, if that makes sense. I explain things in terrible ways, okay? I'm sorry. This event also removed the pity system, which essentially means that you have to grind for hours if you were A. wanted one of the vehicles, or B. if your luck was terrible. 2023 Christmas event. The 2023 Christmas event was finally not a crate event, but instead involved different objectives to do. There were 5 objectives that gave 5 different rewards, one of them being the links. Completing all of the objectives, oh my god, my brain's being fried, would reward you with the Dachshund, yeah, we're calling it that. A typo, actually. It's meant to be Dachshund, like, it's just, it's just a typo. Both of these were land vehicles, by the way. 2024 Valentine's Day event. The 2024 Valentine's Day event was Mad City's final event, and it was a copy-paste of the 2023 Christmas event. It instead had 4 objectives instead of 5, and the final reward was the Valentine's Day launcher, which was a weapon. Now, if there was a theme with all of these events, or just an easy way to narrow it all down, it was the fact that they were all repetitive and boring. You can just narrow everything down to what I've just said, to grind. Hunt crates, grind heists, you probably get the gist. The fact that some of them were just copy-paste of old events likely made some community members think that the developers they became lazy. They've gotten lazy. Some of these events also likely made some players leave entirely. 2023 Halloween. Mad City Chapter 1 has been described as more fast-paced than Chapter 2. And this is referring to the PvP, or player versus player. While I am very clearly not the PvP guy, I actually terribly suck and very just terrible at fighting things, I will try to explain this to the best of my ability. I hope I don't get executed for this. Chapter 1 PvP was pretty much centered around weapons like the shotgun, for instance, which can instantly kill upon a headshot. Getting killed when you were a criminal or a villain would also instantly send you back to the prison, which increased the stakes of survival. Sure, the PvP was unbalanced, but this unbalance was what had people drawn to it. People like overpowered things, and since the shotgun is free, even the free-to-play players can have fun with it. Chapter 2 PvP has lower stakes, in the sense that if you were to get killed, you wouldn't get sent back to the prison, no. You would instead be sent back to your respective base. Criminal or villain base, you get the gist of that. Chapter 2 seems to balance things a bit more and also lower the skill ceiling, if you will. And I think that's where people got annoyed, at least PvP community got annoyed. Not to mention the fact that weapons cost cash now in Chapter 2, and also the fact that, or you don't know, but every weapon has headshot damage now in Chapter 2. Or, at least most of them, because you're not gonna do headshot damage with an RPG or a melee weapon for that matter. While I don't really like PvP in general, I do think I can see where each party is coming from. The community, for the most part, liked how the PvP worked out and how OP stuff was and how higher the stakes were, while the developers themselves wanted to try and make the game fairer for players that had lower skill and whatnot. Let's talk risk and challenges, however. If there were things I do prefer in Chapter 1 than Chapter 2, it was how risky and challenging the cargo plane and the pyramid were. Chapter 2's cargo plane doesn't really have any risk factor and is honestly more of a waiting game for the plane to take off and crash into the water. Chapter 2's pyramid doesn't really feel threatening and just feels too long and boring personally. In Chapter 1, the cargo plane had a timer where it would explode and kill you if you were inside it. The logic made zero sense, but hey, you could say it was pretty mad. And the pyramid in Chapter 1 was riskier, not only because of the server's lag and whatnot, but also because the only exit was the same way you had entered the pyramid, and the possibility of encountering a police or a hero camping made things way more challenging, if that makes sense in the first place. In Chapter 2, the exit for the pyramid is literally a teleporter that places you outside of the pyramid. The developers promised a good amount of content updates and features that would make it into Chapter 2, such as the new prison and trading, but those features would obviously never make it into the game since development had paused. With the amount of things that got promised just to never be added into the game, players would just leave the game entirely as well, essentially being lied to, hoping something would change for the better, just for it to shoot you in the back time and time again. Truth be told, Chapter 2 was doomed from the start. It had the same spaghetti code that Chapter 1 had, but this was clearly way worse. The game was more complex, and the bugs proved to be more game-breaking than the ones you would usually see in Chapter 1 as well. Even if the developers would really want to add new features and content to Chapter 2, it would take much work. Speaking of work, the team for the game was eventually reduced to a single programmer, that being Maximum ADHD, the only one that was working on the codes and scripts of the game. If it wasn't obvious already, multiple programmers for the game went up and left the game. They straight up left. No more programmer, oh god yeah. No longer programming on game whatsoever. And yeah, you could probably make the argument that, oh, there are games that have one programmer, why don't they try freaking updating the game? Well, I mean, like, you can only work for so long until you eventually just have burnout and whatnot. We grow up. Things change. But do we change ourselves? We don't want things to change because we've gotten used to it. It's like going to a brand new school with absolutely nobody that you've ever known before. Everything needs time getting used to it. You need time to adjust. We don't want to let go of something that has value to us, a place in our hearts, so to speak. We go, don't change it, but in most cases, we aren't the ones to make the decision, to make the choice. We are left to watch it all fade and shatter, only remaining as a memory, and one day, even the future will become one. People in our lives come and go as time goes on. We are strangers in everyone's lives, as they all say. We come and go, giving each other a memory or an important lesson, good and or bad. We take things for granted and only realize how important something is once it has been taken away from us or just ripped away from us. Now I know this entire thing I'm spouting about is likely something you don't even care for, find cliche, cringe, or will just likely forget after a few minutes or so, or just this entire thing is just out of context and not really related to Mad City, but hear me out here. Cherish every possible moment that you have, the good and the bad. Yes, we don't like to remember the things that have happened in our lives, but perhaps in those bad memories, we could find maybe something of value. A good and cherished memory? Okay, never mind. Sorry, my entire thing here is falling apart. Long cliche story short, live your lives to the fullest. Lol. Wait, did I just say all of that? Nothing built can last forever, and every legend, no matter how great, fades with time.